Hey filmmaker, if you're watching this video, odds are you probably already have the new Crane M3 gimbal, or you're probably thinking about getting it. In today's video, you are going to learn everything you need to know about the new M3. Let's get started. Straight out of the box, you will have a travel case which will house your Crane M3 gimbal and all of its accessories. To gain access to the main compartment, unzip the long zipper on the bag. Once unzipped, unfold the backpack and you will have access to the main compartment. With the Pro package, you get the ZHIYUN microphone, XLR cable, gimbal tripod, the M3 gimbal, smartphone mount, AA battery for the microphone, baggie with the camera connection cables, and LED fill light filters. We also get a camera quick release plate with the screw and the trans mount expansion base. Don't forget that the ZHIYUN microphone is battery powered, so unscrew the base of the microphone and put in the AA battery. Now let's grab the M3 gimbal and prepare it for first time use. On the bottom of the gimbal, there is a 1/4 20-inch mount meant for the tripod. Make sure you screw on the tripod good and tight. Once securely screwed on, unfold the tripod legs and set it down on a flat surface. Now grab the gimbal or camera quick release plate. As a separately sold accessory, you can get this form of quick release plate too. This quick release plate features a more compact design, and when comparing it to the included quick release plate, it will not block the battery compartment. This will allow you to change out the battery quickly without having to rebalance the gimbal. Now let's locate the axis locks that are on this gimbal. There are 3 of them, one on the roll motor, tilt motor, and pan motor. Unlock the roll motor first. Once unlocked, set the roll motor to its default position, then you can relock it. Then do the same thing to the tilt axis. Now screw on the thumb screw that goes into the quick release plate. Next, insert the quick release plate into its housing so that it snaps into place. Don't forget that there is a safety release notch on the back of the quick release system. Make sure you slide it over to the right and then press on the red button, and then the quick release plate will snap into place. Now attach your camera using the thumb screw. You can either use your smartphone, action camera, or larger mirrorless cameras too. Now unlock the tilt axis, and then loosen up the tilt adjustment arm by unlocking the lever. Now you can push the setup either forward or backward. You want to use 2 hands during this process. Remember, our goal is to keep the camera centered without flopping forward or backward. If your camera is flopping forward, push it back. If it's flopping back, push it forward. There's a secondary tilt adjustment that has to be loosened up and adjusted. It is a little thumb screw located on the bottom near the quick release plate. Unscrew it and you'll be able to push the camera up or down. If you can, leave the camera pointed up so that way you will be able to easily tell if it wants to flop forward or backward. This is a trial and error process. You want the camera to remain centered. You don't want it to flop forward or backward on its own. For larger cameras, you may want to remove the eyepiece that's on your viewfinder. You'll know that the tilt axis is balanced when you let go of the camera setup and it won't flop forward or backward. Now let's balance the roll axis. Unlock the axis lock. If your camera leans over to the left, push it to the right. If it leans over to the right, push it to the left. You'll know the roll axis is balanced when the camera no longer wants to lean over to the right or to the left. Now let's balance the pan axis. Unlock the axis lock, then pick up your gimbal and tilt it either to the left or to the right. If it swings around, it's not properly balanced. Again, this is a trial and error process, and you want to push the adjustment arm for the pan axis either forward or backward to compensate for that swinging. Because of the small size of this gimbal, you may not get the pan axis perfectly balanced depending on the size of your camera. Just get it as close as you can. The motors on this little gimbal are strong enough to compensate for a slightly off-balance setup. When it comes down to payload capacity, it's important to understand that because this gimbal is so small, it can only work with a certain amount of cameras that fit within its form factor, such as the Sony Alpha mirrorless set of cameras. And it also depends on the size of the lens as well, such as a 16-35 Zeiss f4, which is the maximum payload and setup that I've tested with the Crane M3. Now connect the camera connection cable going from the gimbal directly into your camera. This will allow you to access different features such as camera charging, and depending on camera and lens compatibility, you may be able to access follow focus and zoom control features. As a separate accessory, you can also get the wireless camera control module. This is operated via Bluetooth and connects directly into your camera. These Bluetooth modules come in multiple versions such as USB-C, multi, and micro USB. Now turn on the gimbal by holding down the power button for a few seconds. You'll notice the gimbal spring to life and the LCD screen will turn on. You can also single press the power button to lock the touchscreen. Under the LCD screen, you will find the joystick, which can manually position the camera. Then to the right of that, we have the mode switcher button, and below that, a button for photo taking and video recording. You can cycle through the gimbal shooting modes by pressing on the M button. We will talk more about the gimbal shooting modes later on in this video. When you hold down the M button, the gimbal will go to sleep. It will become limp and none of the motors will be active. To re-engage the motors, hold down the M button again. All of the gimbal's shooting modes can be accessed under the mode option. Once you've selected a gimbal shooting mode, press on the arrow located on the upper left-hand corner to go back to the main menu. To the right of mode is the balance option. This will allow you to check the balance on your gimbal to make sure everything is properly balanced. You will see little sliders pop up if it is slightly unbalanced on each axis. When tapping on info, you'll be able to access options such as language change, device info, and you can restore to factory defaults. When pressing on settings, you can access features such as auto calibration, which will automatically set the torque on each axis. Don't worry if the gimbal begins to shake. This is all part of the calibration process. Below auto calibration is parameter settings. This is where you can manually adjust each motor. Here we have low, medium, and high for motor torque. Under that is smoothness. How smooth do you want the gimbal to react or slow down to a stop? Under that is follow speed. How quickly do you want the gimbal to react to your movements? Below that is joystick speed. This will allow you to select the responsiveness of the joystick. Below that is deadband. This option will allow you to change the amount of degrees it will take for you to turn the gimbal in a certain direction in order for the motors to start moving. Below parameter settings is parameter reset, which will set everything back to default. The control wheel setting will allow you to use the dial on the back of the gimbal in order to control the roll axis, and for compatible lens combos, it can even allow you to control the follow focus or zoom. Under the control wheel options is fine tuning. Roll and tilt. This is where you can set the amount of degrees you want the roll or tilt motors to be at default. Now let's talk about gimbal shooting modes. Let's start off with PF or pan follow mode. This is a great all-around standard gimbal shooting mode as it locks the tilt axis but keeps the pan motor engaged. This is great for smooth gimbal shots and it's a good shooting mode for most scenarios. In lock mode, all of the axes will be locked and not moving. This is a great shooting mode for those of you who like to shoot tons of time lapses and motion lapses. And don't forget that at any time, you can double tap the front trigger button and recenter the gimbal. Hit the M button one more time and you will access follow mode. This will enable all axes and motors on the gimbal. Use this mode when you want to have smooth pan and tilt shots. Hit the M button twice to access POV mode, which will enable all axes, including the roll axis motor, giving you the ability for more unique shots. Now access vortex mode by hitting the M button 2 more times or accessing it through the LCD menu. you'll notice the camera point up, giving you the ability to shoot 360-degree barrel roll movements. You can use the joystick to control the rotation. To access portrait mode, simply remove the tripod and place it on the side of the gimbal. Then turn the gimbal on its side and it will automatically enter portrait mode. You can also access this mode via the LCD menu. Now let's access Go mode via the LCD menu or by long pressing the trigger. Go mode makes the motors much more responsive. This is better for action shots. The Crane M3 features a new built-in LED fill light. It's bicolor and dim adjustable. To turn on the fill light, press and hold the dial under the 1/4 20-inch mount. Move the dial up or down to adjust the brightness. To change color temperature, press the dial one more time. Now you can use the dial to change the color temperature. Included with the Crane M3 are magnetic attachment filters for the fill light. There are multiple colors and they attach magnetically. Now let's attach the transmount expansion base, which will be used with the shotgun microphone. Start off by removing the tripod from the gimbal. Then unscrew the spring-loaded screw located on the expansion base. This acts as a quick release. Now attach the expansion base to the gimbal. Simply snap it on. Once snapped on, retighten the quick release thumb screw. Now reattach the tripod to the bottom of the expansion base. You'll notice that on the expansion base there is a little hidden compartment meant to keep the Bluetooth camera control module. You will need the expansion base to upgrade the firmware and charge the Bluetooth module. Now make sure the PC remote function is enabled on your Sony Alpha camera and then turn on the Bluetooth module by pressing and holding on the button until it starts blinking blue. Now you will have full control over the camera's ISO, aperture, shutter speed, and more. Use the control wheel on the front of the gimbal in order to change these settings on your camera. On the front of the expansion base is the mic input. And on the other side is a 1/4 20-inch expansion port. This is meant so you can attach any other accessory that you may have. Now connect the included microphone cable into the expansion base. Connect the other end into the microphone. Then switch the microphone on. The microphone switch has hypercardioid and cardioid options. This will limit the amount of ambient noise that enters the microphone. Select hypercardioid if you want more directional audio. Now connect the other included audio cable into your M3 gimbal. Connect the other end into your audio input on your camera. With the gimbal turned on, you will now receive live audio signal coming from the shotgun microphone. Now let's update the firmware on the M3. Connect it via the ZHIYUN app. Once connected via Bluetooth, you will see an Upgrade Now button located at the top of the screen. Press the Upgrade Now button and then Download Now. Once downloaded, hit the Upgrade Now button. It will take approximately 10 minutes for the upgrade process to complete. During the upgrade process, the gimbal will go limp. Once the firmware has been uploaded to the gimbal, you'll notice an upgrade logo pop up on the LCD screen. Wait for it to finish. When it finishes, it will say Succeed. To upgrade via your computer, visit ZHIYUNTech.com and then go to the Download tab at the top. Then select the Crane M3. Then download the firmware file. After you download that, also download the ZHIYUN Calibration Upgrade tool. Make sure you select the correct operating system. Now connect your gimbal to the computer and turn the gimbal on. Then open up the Calibration Upgrade tool and browse for the firmware upgrade file that you downloaded earlier. Once the firmware file has been selected, press on the Open button at the upper part of the software, then click Upgrade. The M3 will upgrade the same exact way as it did via the ZHIYUN app. And that just about wraps up today's video on the Crane M3. If you have any further questions, please leave them down below in the comment section or reach out to the support staff. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in another video.